take a deep dive into AI detection tools. I've got my screen share set up here, and on my end, I'm looking at several monitors in front of me. So on one side, I've got a list of common questions that people have about AI tools and AI detection. And on the other side, I have the screen that I'm sharing with you. So you're going to see me looking back and forth here with this. But without further ado, let's jump right in, and we're going to take a look at Originality which is one of the top AI detection tools on the market right now. We're going to kick things off with how exactly AI detection tools work. So on the surface level, pretty straightforward. We're going to go to the content scanner here. We're going to start a new scan. We can give this scan a title if we want. We'll just call this test number 1. And we're going to get some text. What's the point in using an AI detection tool if we're not using AI written text? So in the other tab here, I have ChatGPT 3.5. I'm going to ask it to write a one-paragraph description of Basil's restaurant. We're just going to ask it to do that. And here we have a generic description of Basil's restaurant. This is one of the key things to keep in mind with using AI writing tools. They will complete the task that they're asked. They did write a one paragraph description of this restaurant, but it doesn't know anything about the restaurant, so that may or may not be true. With past tests, I've had it say that Basil's was a Thai restaurant, and in this case, it's saying that it's a Mediterranean restaurant. Basil is used in Thai cuisine as well as Italian cuisine. So we've copied the text over to Originality.ai. We have 110 words. This scan is going to cost 4 credits. As you can see, I've got a lot of credits left over. I've been experimenting with this tool for a few months now, and we're going to use some of these extra credits that I've got to be able to show you what we found. So we're going to run this scan. We're going to detect for AI, and we're also going to check for plagiarism and readability. It only takes a moment to run the scan, and Originality.ai gives you these wonderful graphics so you can have something to look at as it's running. As you might have guessed, this is very likely AI written. We just copied and pasted it out of ChatGPT. There's a little heat map here. I'm not sure how well this is coming across in the screen sharing, but this first sentence is a darker red, and it shifts to more of an orangish color with the remainder of the paragraph. What we can do here is we can change the model that we're using, the standard model. There's information about the different models that are available. The standard model is good for most things, as you might suggest with the phrase standard. The turbo model is a little bit higher false positive rate. This is if you want to be really certain that AI was not used, but we're going to take a look at a few things in just a moment that suggest that might not be the case. This is the very basics of how AI detection works. All of the tools work very similar. They apply some sort of a confidence percentage regarding how likely it is that the text that you've provided was written by AI tools. Next, we are going to take a look at how to avoid AI detection. So there are a few things that I like to use. First, I like to add a little bit of information about the thing that we're writing about, some lived human experience that the robot doesn't have access to. So as an example, I chose Basil's restaurant because this restaurant is actually located in Greenville, North Carolina. They serve Italian food. They are well known for their pizza. And now I'm going to add a little bit of information about my personal experience there. So here I'm saying that I really like their pepperoni pizza. We'll have ChatGPT incorporate this into the description. And let's see if that's enough to pass AI detection at this point. I believe it is still going to be detected as AI, but we will start a new scan. We're not going to give it a title. We're just going to move past that. We only have 68 words. And sorry, I just noticed, I thought maybe it was requesting the title, but it is not. So we only have 68 words. I'm going to ask it to expand on this. We need to reach that 100 word limit. We'll try that one. Close. As you may have noticed, ChatGPT is not very good at counting words. So we'll ask it to make it one sentence longer, and maybe that'll give us those 2 extra words that we need. Oh, still only 97 words. There we go. We have 100 and, well, got to drop that one. 101 words. We're there. Let's see if that's long enough to run the scan. All right, we've made a very small improvement here. We're at 98% confidence that this is written by AI. The heat map is still showing that likely all of this is generated by AI. Let's go back. And we are going to do a couple of things here. First, we are going to take this out of ChatGPT 3.5. So far, I've been working with the free version of ChatGPT 3.5 model. I also have the paid version, so we're going to step up to GPT 4.0, and we're just going to ask it to please revise this to make it more human and likely to pass AI detection. So we're actually asking an AI writing tool to improve the content so it could pass AI detection. We are moving from ChatGPT 3.5 over to 4.0. We're going to copy this, start a new scan, paste the text in there. Oh, we only have 98 words. Let's avoid that word limit, and we're going to bump this up to 200 words or something in that neighborhood. All right, let's see what Originality.ai thinks of this content. So what we've done so far to be able to avoid AI detection, or try to, is that we've extended the length of the content, and we've asked a newer model of ChatGPT to write it so it is more like a human. We're back to 100% detection. Let's take a look at what happens if we stack the models. So we have this content that was written by ChatGPT. In another tab here, I have Claude. So I'm going to ask Claude to rewrite this at a 5th grade reading level. And I'm going to give it what ChatGPT originally wrote. And I'm going to copy the rewritten text at a 5th grade reading level. I'm not going to include, would you like me to explain any parts of the text? We only want the part that was rewritten. That's a dead giveaway for anything that was written by an AI tool, is including the filler content. Let's scan it now and see what we have. Still 100% likely. See the different sections that are highlighted in the color key? You're able to continue to massage this text and go back and forth testing to see what was AI written content and what was human written content. We have found with enough back and forth considerations on this, you can be able to stack various AI writing tools and rewriting and remixing in order to have your copy pass AI detection. One of the other things that can really help with passing AI detection is introducing some errors. I have an error right there. So we're going to ask ChatGPT now to take the rewritten part from Anthropic's tool and introduce some errors to make it seem more human. So now we've taken a rewritten copy from ChatGPT, taken it over to Claude, had it rewrite it at 5th grade level. Now we brought it back to ChatGPT, and we've introduced some errors. Scan it again. While that's running, let's get to the point with all of this. You can keep going back and forth like this. I'm going to show you a few other things that you can do to automate some of these things. And your success is going to vary widely. Essentially, what the tool is looking for is common patterns in the way that the AI writing tools use language versus the way that humans use language. We've seen examples from experimenting with these tools where we have taken text that was entirely written by a human. We put it in here and it says, this is definitely written by an AI. these types of false positives are common. They happen from time to time. But we've also been able to take that text that was written by a human and use an AI tool to rewrite it and then send it back into the AI writing tool, and it flags it as being definitely written by a human. The reason is that it's working on trying to identify these patterns, and so far in the example that I'm presenting to you in this video, nothing ever works out as you expected it when you're doing this live and sharing your screen. The example that I'm sharing right now keeps showing 100% confidence, but we obviously started with AI written content, and so it seems like this might be an awesome tool. I was very impressed by the number of positive identifications that I was getting with Originality.ai. And then I started going back and forth with using human content and AI written content. And I found that I got a significant number of false positives where things that I know the human, I know who wrote it and that it was actually written by them. It wasn't something that I had hired someone online that I didn't know that might have told me false information that they said they wrote it, but they actually used a AI writing tool. People that I actually know directly that I know wrote the content provided me with written content that was flagged as being AI written. And that sent us down this rabbit hole of testing different ways of being able to sort out what was written by AI and what was written by humans. And we found it very difficult. A lot of content today is being written by AI tools, and Originality.ai and various other AI detection tools are flagging a lot of content as being written by AI. We're going to get into a little bit of more information about what exactly it means to have content written by AI and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So to summarize, bypassing AI detection, it does take some time. It's going to be a back and forth process at this point. You're going to have to specify which AI detection tool you want to be able to bypass, and you're going to continue to go through these different processes of introducing some errors, rewriting the text in different ways, adding a little bit of human lived experience, and eventually you can massage some text to the point where it ends up passing AI detection tools, even though it's written by an AI tool. I want to briefly point out how you can be able to automate some of these things if this is an important thing for you to do. If you go to the dashboard, there are API integrations. So you can connect AI detection tools like Originality.ai, and you can also make API calls to the various AI writing tools. And you could have software that just goes back and forth, write something, check and see if it's detected as AI. If yes, rewrite it in some way or introduce some errors or continuously go back and forth on this revision process. You're talking about a few pennies each time that you call one of these APIs. This could be hundreds or thousands of back and forth interactions. It could end up a pretty significant bill. So you want to check that before you start running too many of these API calls. But there is that possibility. How reliable is Originality.ai's detection? That's going to depend on who it is that you talk to. Originality.ai has research that they've published on their website, which demonstrates that they find their tool to be extremely reliable. One of the challenges that I come across with regards to the reliability of any AI detection tool, I'm not just picking on Originality.ai. I do believe that they have one of the best tools, if not the best tool on the market today for this type of work. There are some serious considerations when it comes to making decisions using these AI detection tools. I've got a few articles to share with you in my tabs here. There's one on the Washington Post titled "What to Do When You're Accused of AI Cheating." This is a pretty decent article that goes into all of the nuance of being accused of cheating as a student and how to be able to advocate for yourself, and also providing advice to educators that are looking at the real problem of students using these AI writing tools to be able to create content, and how do you actually teach somebody something if these tools that could be used for cheating are freely available, very easily available on the internet. There's an article on Fast Company What happened after this college student's paper was falsely flagged for AI use after using Grammarly. One of the big problems with a lot of AI detection tools is that they're looking for patterns in the use of the English language that are uncommon for humans. As I mentioned, one of the things that you can do is introducing errors intentionally. Well, if you're writing a paper for school, you want to be using things like grammar correction with Grammarly or spell check. You want to be trying to use tools that are going to help improve your writing. And oftentimes, improving your writing is going to increase the likelihood that your human written content ends up being flagged as AI written content. Another article in USA Today. Professors are using ChatGPT detector tools to accuse students of cheating, but what if the software is wrong? This is an interesting thing that's currently being played out. I'm eager to see when some of these things end up making it to court, or maybe I've missed some of the cases. If you've seen any of these cases actually make it through court, I'm looking for judgments against universities and businesses that are using these AI detection tools, because when you accuse somebody of cheating, if you don't have evidence to back that up in the United States, that could possibly be considered slander. I'm not a lawyer, but I'd be very interested to see what lawyers and what the legal system ends up deciding with regards to using these tools and accusing somebody of cheating, if that would be possibly libel or slander, or something that would end with a sizable judgment in favor of the student or the employee, possibly a writer being terminated for their content being flagged as AI written, but no real evidence. All of these AI detection tools assign a probability or a likelihood that they believe that content was written by a human or a robot. And if that probability is, let's say, 99%, that still means that there's a 1% chance, so 1 out of every 100 people that are flagged in that way actually wrote the content themselves, that it was human written content. It's not the level of evidence that you can make a lot of very important decisions about a student's status in a university or an employee's status at a company. So let's talk about the benefits of using AI detection tools. One of the things that you can benefit from is making higher quality content. I use several examples with creating a description of a restaurant. I don't want to confuse anything and suggest that those descriptions that I threw together in just a few seconds were high quality descriptions. They were generic garbage kind of descriptions that were just used for a quick test. You could use a tool like Originality AI or various other AI detection tools to try to create content that is going to stand out, that's going to be unique in some way that makes other tools recognize it as uniquely human. The limitation of the AI detection tools, that's a common question that comes up. That's mostly focused on incorrect flags or missing AI content completely. I mentioned before that we've run some tests here at OptSus where we have looked at content that was written by a human, and then we've used AI tools to be able to modify that content, because the human written content was flagged as AI, and we ended up using AI tools to change that so it appears to be written by a human. Those AI tools are not always right, and if you believe that they are, you could be making some significant mistakes. I like to use an example when we're talking about educators. Educators are trying to catch any instances where their students are using AI tools and cheating. And if the educator is using an AI detection tool and making their determination on the student's academic status entirely based on that AI detection tool, they themselves are using an AI tool, an AI detection tool, to avoid their human responsibility in the classroom, which is what we're trying to stop the students from doing. Talking with a bunch of other educators about this, one of my favorite ways of addressing this problem so far has been a friend of mine. What he does with AI detection in his classroom is that he teaches political science. And when he is assigning a paper to a student, he's got a couple of pieces that he does with AI tools in his classroom. First, he assigns the task of using AI to write a paper about a topic. And then the job of the student is to critique the paper that was written by the AI tool. This shows the students that just because it came out of an AI tool doesn't mean that it was truthful. And the students exercise their ability to fact check documents written by other people or other sources, AI, human, otherwise, wherever that content came from. The student's ability to do some basic fact checking is a valuable skill. So they fact check an article written by an AI tool. Next, inevitably, later in the semester, somebody is going to turn in a paper where they cite various political theories that were not discussed in class. This is a high probability that this paper was written by an AI tool because it's introducing subjects that weren't discussed in the class. But he does not tell the student that they were cheating or accuse them in any way of cheating. Instead, what he does is when he's grading that paper and recognizes those political theories that were not discussed in class, which are referenced in the paper, he tells the student, hey, I'd love to talk with you about your paper. You've got these theories that you referenced that we didn't discuss in class. Stop by my office hours and let's talk about this. This leaves the student with one of two options. They can either A, research those political theories and arrive at the office hours ready to have a conversation, which ends up causing the student to accidentally learn something in class. That's not a bad thing. Or the student ends up coming to the office hours and admitting that they used an AI tool to write the paper, in which case they are given the assignment to rewrite that paper. And they tend to do it correctly the next time. They avoid using those AI tools because they've been caught. So either way, the student either learns something or changes their behavior, and the professor has now made their point. And that's the point of the entire classroom activity, is for students to learn things and to learn how to use new tools in innovative ways. Take a look at the list of questions that I have here. Can AI detection tools detect AI generated content? And no, they assign a probability, so not perfect at it. And some tools are a little bit more accurate than others. Depends on your tolerance for false positives. The future of AI detection tools. This is an interesting thing. Like I said, Originality.ai has made some significant improvements. It has me questioning exactly where the future of these tools might be. The things that I'm seeing is this is a classic arms race. The AI tools become better, and then the AI detection tools have to become better. And back and forth, each of these tools improves. The thing with your standard arms race is that whoever is creating the newest, latest armaments, in this case, the AI creation tools, they tend to have the leading edge. The reason is that before you can detect a new AI writing tool, that new AI writing tool has to have been created. So I believe that there's going to be an advantage to the AI writing tools going forward, but perhaps there are going to be some sort of patterns that the AI detection tools are able to hone in on with large enough data sets that the AI writing tools are not able to work around. This begs the bigger question, is it really that important if the words were written by an AI tool or not? Ideas are the more important thing, in my opinion, and we'll see how this teases out going into the future. See this as being something very similar to the advent of the digital camera. When digital cameras first came out, there was a whole uproar of the entire idea of using software like Photoshop in post-processing of images, because that wasn't something that you did with standard film cameras. And the world of photography fund the use of Photoshop and other digital photography tools. Today, what I'm saying is absolutely ridiculous. Any photographer working today is using digital cameras and is using Photoshop in part of their production process. There are the artists among us that are still using film cameras and using chemistry labs to be able to process the film. I'm not talking about that rare occasion. I'm talking about the larger group of people that are working as professional photographers, going to weddings and events and things like that, taking pictures and selling their work as a photographer. The vast majority of them are using digital cameras and Photoshop and going through a entirely digital post-production process, not the earlier days of film cameras and film production. I think that there might be a similar kind of transition in the world of writing, where previously we've been writing with entirely human-generated content. We started having these spell checkers and grammar checkers that were helping us, and now we have a next level of spelling and grammar checking in these AI writing tools. If you ask it something very vanilla, like please write a description of Basil Restaurant, as I did in the example here, you're going to get a very vanilla output. But if you ask it something a little bit more interesting, giving it a little bit of the human lived experience, you get a little bit better description of the restaurant. Pulled that up here in ChatGPT, showing what that looked like with the very basic request and then adding a little bit more detail. And you can add layers of complexity here. How can AI detection tools improve your marketing content? In these AI detection tools, you can try to create content that is going to avoid AI detection. Different systems going into the future may penalize AI content in different ways. There is a lot of content on the internet right now that has been penalized in search engine optimization because it is suspected of being AI generated. That could happen in social media or a variety of other platforms. If you feel that your content is being penalized because it's being identified as AI, you can use these AI detection tools to see what those patterns are in your content and work on removing those patterns so it looks less like AI generated content. Another question that comes up is the ethical considerations for using AI detection in marketing. I think that the biggest ethical consideration is the false positives or the false negatives. You're using these tools, and if you're completely reliant on these tools to be able to identify what is and is not AI detected content, it could very well be something that was written by AI that is flagged as being written by a human, or vice versa, something that was written by a human that was flagged as being written by AI. You're going to need a little bit more information to go on to make any significant decisions there. And depending on how you apply that score, could end up with some serious legal issues. One of the best ways that I've seen a company apply this is they were having their writing team achieve a score of less than 60% AI generated content. Allows for some content to be flagged as AI generated, and they still end up with no significant issue as a writer for that organization. Went over that threshold on average across all of the content that you're creating, then your content would be up for review, where they would have a closer human inspection of the content that you're creating to determine whether or not it seems like it had been written by AI versus human written. So even if you met that threshold, you didn't have any automatic response. Instead, that threshold was used to be able to identify which writers should be under closer scrutiny. AI detection tools help with SEO and content marketing. Definitely use AI detection tools to be able to help with your content marketing and with your SEO, because as I mentioned, there are websites right now that are dealing with search engine optimization, SEO issues related to their content being identified as AI written content. Using the AI detection tools, you can help to make sure that your content passes that AI detection if you believe that's going to be important to you for search engine optimization. Examples of AI detection in marketing. So I mentioned there's a company that has a writing team, and they use these AI detection tools in order to have a bench of human writers that are generating content, and to make sure that they are actually writing the content and not using AI tools. They use AI detection on every single piece of content that is written, and if a human writer passes a certain threshold, then they take a closer look at that account. There are other fingerprints that you can look at that make it more obvious if something was AI generated. As an example, if most of the humans are writing, let's say, 100 words per hour, but there are a few people that are averaging 1,000 words per hour, uh, that significant difference is an outlier and can identify who could possibly be using AI writing tools to be able to generate content. Integrating AI detection tools within your existing marketing software. We're going to go back to the API integration. That's the best way to be able to connect these different tools. You can be able to use a variety of different software platforms to put together things that are going to make some API calls and send content from one place over to another place. Really get into specifics because it depends on exactly how you have your tools set up. But these API integrations allow you to connect with a variety of tools, anything from custom written software to no code platforms like Zapier and those types of tools to be able to move content back and forth, receive some sort of response, and then make a decision with that content. AI detection tools. There are different types of marketing content that are more or less easy to AI detection tools. Blogs, for example, tend to be longer than 100 words. However, social media posts are frequently shorter than 100 words. With Originality.ai, there is a threshold of 100 words in order to even run the test to see if it's written by an AI tool. So you could use Originality.ai to check blogs and emails and longer form content that are 100 words or more, but you're not going to be able to use an AI detection tool like this to be able to check social media posts and other short form content. As far as cost effectiveness, the next question that I have on my list here is, are there any cost-effective AI detection tools for small businesses? Take a look at the pricing on Originality.ai. They have a plan that is $30. It's a one-time payment. You get 3,000 credits, and that allows you to start checking content. Those credits expire after 2 years. So if you're not using this very often and you have a relatively small amount of content that you're wanting to check, you could pay $30 and use it for 2 years, and your 3,000 credits are there for you for the next 2 years. If you're using this on a more frequent basis, for $15 a month, you get 2,000 credits every month, and the credits every month. So as long as you continue paying, if you have leftover credits, they add up in your account, which is what I showed you in my account. I've been paying for several months now, running a whole bunch of different tests, and I have accumulated a balance of over 6,000 credits that I haven't used from the past months at 2,000 credits per month. So my team and I have used this quite a bit, and we still have got plenty of additional credits that we haven't used. $15 a month is definitely accessible to any size business. Future trends for AI detection. That's a good question that I have on my list here. What future trends in AI detection should marketers be aware of? There were a lot of websites that ended up falling through search engine rankings and lost a lot of traffic. Some of them ended up going out of business. They had a revenue model that relied very heavily on search engine optimization traffic, and when they were flagged for AI generated content, they went out of business. So with AI detection, you're going to want to stay up to date on what exactly is happening, whether it's fair or right, ethical or legal. That is a separate issue. You need to focus on how are you going to be able to make sure that your content continues to bring people into your business. And I think one of the important things to keep in mind with AI generated content, The goal is to serve the people that are looking at the content on the website. If you asked ChatGPT to write a description of Basil's restaurant and it gives you a paragraph, and that paragraph has nothing to do with the actual restaurant that you're trying to describe, you haven't served anyone. That is garbage content, and you probably should have a hard time getting people to read it. However, if you a lot of context and a lot of information about this restaurant, and you ask the AI tool to help you with writing the paragraph describing it, to take that information and organize it in an efficient way, that's a lot more like what Grammarly and spell checking tools do to be able to help you with organizing your content and your information. That fine line is for academia, that's a separate question, but for marketers and for business, I think that it's a no-brainer to use these tools to help you with organizing your information, and then use AI detection tools to make sure that you haven't overstepped some boundaries in creating content that gets flagged as AI, if that is something that is very important to your business. Question that I have on my list here is, how can I train my team to use AI detection tools effectively? To add people to your team here on Originality.ai. So that's one of the things that I've done. I've added various members of my team to my account. This allows each of them to be able to have access to the tools that I pay for under one single subscription. And then for training, I like to have them start using the various tools. There are guides over on the blog on Originality.ai. They have information about their improved accuracy, tons of details on their website. The way that I prefer to approach training is very hands-on, having them start working on a project, and then I have weekly meetings with my team. And so when we have those meetings, we discuss how the tools are being used, what are the benefits and drawbacks, and what are the interesting cases that they're finding. Each of the different members of the team run their own tests and report back what they've found, and collectively we're keeping up with the latest trends with these tools. It's the end of my list of questions here. The next one is, what are the legal implications of using AI detection in marketing? I mentioned that a few times, that the legal implications are still being teased out. That there are some serious concerns if you are making a business decision, or we talked about educators as well. If you're making a decision about the status of a student, or if you're making the decision about the status of an employee, solely based on the output of an AI detection tool. I think that that's a lazy way to address the problem, and the AI detection tool should only be one of several pieces. There should be multiple steps in this process. The AI detection tool helps you to look over a large body of work and identify trends, just like a lot of the other AI tools are helping us to do with various business processes or education processes. You can look over a large body of data, you can identify trends, and then based on those trends, look more closely at different individuals. As you look closely at those individuals, you can compile a body of evidence to support or refute your claim that they're using AI tools in a way that is not allowed within your organization. Employment with legal implications. Any organization that has some sort of a firing policy is not going to fire somebody on a single offense. There's going to be a series of escalations involving multiple people at the organization, and forms of written and oral that let somebody know that they're messing up long before they end up becoming unemployed. There needs to be similar processes with the use of AI detection tools, and communicating to someone that they're doing things that are probably going to get them into trouble. And this tool is one of multiple things that are helping to identify where those conversations need to be had. The item that I have on my list here is the question, can AI detection tools improve the credibility of my marketing content? I think they can improve the marketing content. I think that detection tools alone don't do this. They're a piece of it. Ability comes from the human insights that you're bringing into the content that you're creating. Full transparency. The list of questions that I'm looking at over here that we're using for creating this video. I pulled up ChatGPT and I asked it to take a look at some keywords that I pulled out of Ahrefs. Those keywords were related to questions around Originality.ai and AI detection tools. And based on that data, I had a conversation with ChatGPT, which resulted in this list of questions that has now been turned into this video. However, the video that you're watching right now is based on my insights and observations. So Frank Jones, the human, is actually creating the content, but ChatGPT, the AI robot over here, helped to create the list of questions and the outline of the content that needed to be put into this video. I'm not sure how well this video is going to do, and it's going to be split up into smaller videos. So if you're watching only one piece of this, then you may not realize that this is part of a larger, almost 1 hour long video, but there are links in the various places that this video is shared. So you can see the larger piece of content and all of the short form content, and as to whether that is a good idea and if it helps with credibility in marketing content, that will be answered by the number of views, likes, comments, and those types of things that this video receives. So if you enjoyed this content, this is the part on YouTube where I ask you to like and subscribe. Please leave a comment and click the bell so that way you get notified every time that we upload a video. Have a wonderful day.